I reserved a private room and paid in advance for my birthday dinner. Nobody came. An hour later, my wife tagged everyone, even my kids, in a family night photo at a steakhouse across town. I didn't argue. I just posted, reminder, I'm the one covering mom's bills and the kids' college fees. The next morning, I canceled every automatic payment. By afternoon, my phone exploded with calls from family. I didn't pick up. I thought I knew what real betrayal felt like. I built an empire with my bare hands, sacrificed everything for my family, only to find myself sitting alone on my 50th birthday, staring at an empty table, while the people I loved most toasted another man with my money. That night, something shattered inside me, but it also ignited a cold, burning resolve, a promise that this injustice, this deep, soul-crushing wound, would not go unanswered. Chapter 1. The cracks in the foundation. Ryan Holloway's life had been a testament to sheer grit. From a working-class kid in rural Pennsylvania, he'd clawed his way up, building Holloway Construction into a powerhouse of luxury properties across 3 states. Even at 45, as CEO, he still loved being on site, talking to his crews, sometimes even picking up a tool. His hands, though, they weren't just skilled in construction, they'd laid the foundation of his entire life, including his 23-year marriage to Melanie. They'd met in college, he was working construction to pay for his business degree, she was studying interior design. Broke, but so happy back then. Then came Amber, now 22 and finishing an expensive private university, and Noah, 19, in his sophomore year at another prestigious college. Ryan had designed and partly built their sprawling home in Lancaster's most affluent neighborhood. He'd even taken care of Melanie's mother, Sophia, after her husband passed. Melanie drove a luxury SUV the kids never wanted for anything. He provided, always. But lately, there was this unsettling distance. His long hours building their life had created a chasm, and he couldn't shake the feeling someone else was filling it. Family dinners grew quiet, conversations abruptly halting when he entered the room. Melanie would shield her phone, calls ending the second he approached. One evening in early October, as he packed his briefcase, Melanie asked, "Working late again tonight, honey?" She didn't look up from her phone, and Ryan couldn't help but notice the flicker of relief in her eyes. He told her about a big project in Harrisburg, home by 9. She just nodded, "Don't worry, I'm meeting the girls anyway." He kissed her cheek, a polite, practiced gesture, and left. What she didn't know was that he'd already rescheduled his meeting, planning to surprise her with a spontaneous dinner date. Driving past La Bella Vita, Melanie's favorite Italian restaurant, his breath hitched. There she was, through the window. Not with the girls. She was with Damon Walsh, a smooth financial advisor who had recently joined their country club. His hand rested on hers, their faces close in intimate conversation. Ryan drove past, a cold, heavy weight settling in his chest. He didn't confront her that night. Instead, he started observing. Collecting the patterns, the subtle clues that had been invisible to him before. He built his business by being methodical, by understanding the terrain before breaking ground. This situation, he knew, would be no different. The next morning, his assistant Nora mentioned Melanie had called about Amber's sorority fundraiser. "It's $10,000 this year." Ryan authorized the transfer. Another check written, another expense paid, another withdrawal from an emotional account that was already overdrawn. That evening, surrounded by family photos in his home office, studying the gradual, almost imperceptible changes in their expressions over the years, Ryan made a silent, chilling promise to himself. He would see the full picture, no matter how excruciatingly painful the revelation might be. Chapter 2. The Invisible Man. Ryan's 50th birthday was approaching in late October. Despite the growing chasm between him and his family, he decided to make one last desperate effort. One last try at connection. He reserved a private room at the Vault, Lancaster's most exclusive restaurant, housed in an old, renovated bank building. The irony wasn't lost on him, a place that once secured other people's valuables would now host what remained of his own most valuable possession, his family. "I've booked the Vault for my birthday next Saturday," he announced at breakfast, one of the rare occasions when they were all together. "Private room. I thought it would be nice for all of us to spend some time together." Melanie glanced up from her phone, offering a tight, almost forced smile. "That sounds lovely, Ryan." Noah just shrugged. "Do I have to dress up?" "Yes." Ryan and Melanie answered simultaneously, perhaps the only thing they'd agreed on in weeks. Amber tapped her coffee cup. "I'll check my schedule, Dad." "Please do," Ryan replied, watching his daughter exchange a quick, telling glance with her mother. "It's important to me." Over the next 2 weeks, Ryan paid attention to every subtle signal, Melanie's increasing time away, the hushed phone conversations, the unexplained shopping bags that never seemed to contain anything that appeared in their home. At work, he began quietly reorganizing his financial affairs, meeting with his shrewd lawyer, Bennett Woodward, who'd been with him since the early days of his company. "Everything all right, Ryan?" Bennett had asked after reviewing documents transferring assets. Ryan just said, "Just getting my affairs in order, Ben. You know how it is. A man reaches a certain age, starts thinking about legacy." Bennett nodded, but his eyes clearly suspected more. 3 days before his birthday, Ryan paid the reservation in full, an extravagant multi-course meal for 6. Himself, Melanie, Amber, Noah, his mother-in-law Sophia, and his younger brother, Lucas, the only family member who had ever truly supported him. He sent calendar invites with all the details. Everyone confirmed. On his birthday morning, Ryan woke to an empty bed. Melanie had left a generic card on his pillow and a store-bought cake in the fridge. No personal gift, no special breakfast, just a perfunctory acknowledgement of the day. Still, he clung to a sliver of hope for the evening. He dressed meticulously in a tailored navy suit, the one Melanie had once said made him look devastatingly handsome. He arrived early at the vault, confirmed the arrangements, and settled in to wait. 6 o'clock came. Then 6:30. At 6:45, he called Melanie. No answer. He texted Amber and Noah. No response. He called Lucas. "Hey, I'm so sorry, Ryan," Lucas answered, genuine regret in his voice. "My flight got cancelled. I'm still in Denver. Tried calling earlier, but it went straight to voicemail." At 7 o'clock, Ryan sat completely alone in the opulent private dining room. The staff hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to serve or wait. "Would you like some wine while you wait, Mr. Holloway?" the server asked, his voice hesitant. "Yes, thank you," Ryan replied, maintaining a composure he didn't feel. "The Cabernet, please." At 7:30, his phone buzzed. His heart lifted momentarily, thinking it was an explanation for the delay. Instead, it was a social media alert. Melanie had tagged a new post, "Family night with my favorites Red Heart." The photo showed Melanie, Amber, Noah, Sophia, and Damon Walsh. All smiling, gathered around a table at the Capitol Grill, an upscale steakhouse on the other side of town. Ryan stared at the image, every detail burning into his memory. Amber wore the diamond earrings he'd given her for her 20th, Noah had on the watch Ryan had handed down when he graduated. Sophia wore the pearl necklace Ryan had bought her after her husband died. And Melanie was wearing a new dress he'd never seen, leaning slightly towards Damon, who had his arm casually draped on the back of her chair. The server returned with the wine. "Should we perhaps start with some appetizers while you wait, sir?" Ryan looked up from his phone, his expression unreadable. "No need," he said, his voice flat. "It appears my guests won't be joining me tonight." He took a slow sip of the Cabernet. "I'll have dinner alone." As he ate his solitary meal, Ryan composed a brief social media post of his own. Simple. Direct. Cutting. Reminder, I'm the one who pays mom's bills and kids' college fees. He hit post, then silenced his phone, placing it face down on the table. He ate methodically, savoring each bite of the premium steak, each sip of the $300 bottle of wine. As he finished his meal, Ryan made another decision, sharp and unforgiving. This betrayal would not stand unanswered. Not by a long shot. Chapter 3, the first move. The morning after his birthday, Ryan rose before dawn, the silence of the sprawling house almost deafening. He sat in his home office, surrounded by family photographs that now felt like artifacts from a stranger's life. One by one, he methodically cancelled every automatic payment from his accounts. Sophia's assisted living facility. Amber's sorority dues and apartment rent. Noah's tuition installment and meal card. Melanie's personal credit cards. The country club membership. The landscaping service for their home. Dozens of other expenses he had silently maintained for years. Next, he called his company's HR department. "Nancy, I need you to remove Melanie from my health insurance today. Private family matter." His tone left no room for questions. "And please cancel the company platinum cards issued to her and my children immediately." He worked through the morning, systematically dismantling the financial scaffolding that had supported his family's comfortable, entitled lifestyle. By noon, he had transferred significant sums to new accounts, accessible only to him. He'd also applied a temporary freeze on several family investment accounts, pending the resolution of discrepancies. When he finished, Ryan drove to his brother Lucas's house, which stood empty while Lucas was still stranded in Denver. He packed a bag with essentials, left his family vehicle in the garage, and took Lucas's spare truck back to his office. He wasn't going back to that house, not yet. At 3 p.m., precisely when the banks closed for the day, Ryan's phone began to ring. First Melanie, then Sophia, then Amber, then Noah. Text messages flooded in, ranging from confused to demanding to downright panicked. Asterisk Melanie, Ryan, what's going on with the accounts? Call me ASAP. Asterisk Sophia, Ryan, dear, the facility manager says my payment was declined. There must be some mistake. Asterisk Amber, Dad, my rent payment bounced. My landlord is freaking out. Asterisk Noah, WTF, Dad. The bursar's office just called me. They're threatening to drop my classes. Ryan read each message, his face impassive, his fingers still. He didn't respond. At 5 p.m., he received a call from an unknown number. He answered. Ryan, it's Damon Walsh. Look, I think we need to talk man-to-man about what's happening. Ryan's voice was perfectly controlled, almost dangerously calm. I believe you forfeited the right to man-to-man conversations when you chose to spend my birthday with my wife and children. That was an unfortunate coincidence, Damon started. No, Ryan interrupted, his voice like ice. A coincidence is running into someone unexpectedly. What happened yesterday was a deliberate choice by all involved. Goodbye, Damon. Ryan ended the call and turned off his phone. He had built his empire by understanding timing and leverage. Now, he would use both to dismantle the illusions his family had so carefully constructed around him. That evening, sitting in Lucas's quiet living room, Ryan penned 3 letters by hand. One to Amber, one to Noah, and one to Melanie. He would not write to Sophia. She had raised a daughter who thought betrayal was acceptable, and Ryan had nothing more to say to her. In each letter, he outlined exactly what he knew, when he had discovered it, and what would happen next. The letters were not angry or vindictive. They were precise, detailed, and utterly final. He sealed each in an envelope and placed them in his briefcase. As night fell, Ryan opened his laptop and began the next phase of his plan. By morning, his family would understand the true consequences of taking for granted the man who had built everything they enjoyed. Chapter 4, boundaries drawn at precisely 9 o'clock the morning after cutting off financial support, Ryan walked into Bennett Woodward's law office, the 3 sealed letters in his briefcase. The receptionist, recognizing one of the firm's most valuable clients, immediately ushered him into Bennett's private office. You look like hell, Bennett observed, gesturing for Ryan to sit. I've had better weeks, Ryan agreed, his voice steady despite the dark circles under his eyes. I need your help with some urgent matters. Over the next hour, Ryan laid out the situation, Melanie's affair with Damon Walsh, his family's egregious absence at his birthday dinner, and the decisive financial steps he had already taken. Bennett took careful notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions, but offering no judgment. What exactly do you want to do here, Ryan? Bennett finally asked. I want what's fair, Ryan replied, his gaze unwavering. I built my company from nothing. I've provided an exceptional lifestyle for my family. I want to ensure that whatever happens next, my legacy remains intact and in the hands of those who actually value it. Bennett nodded. Let me be direct. Are you looking for reconciliation or separation? Ryan's expression hardened. There's nothing to reconcile. I'm not interested in saving a marriage where I'm clearly unwanted. What I want is to establish clear boundaries, financial, legal, and personal. As they discussed strategy, Ryan's phone continued to vibrate with incoming calls and messages. He checked it once to confirm none were from his brother, Lucas, then returned it to his pocket unanswered. They'll try to contact you next, he told Bennett. When they do, give them this information. He passed Bennett a folder containing terms for what would essentially be a controlled demolition of his marriage. Meanwhile, across town, chaos had erupted at the Holloway residence. Melanie paced the kitchen, her phone pressed to her ear as she made her 15th attempt to reach Ryan. Still nothing, she told Damon, who sat uncomfortably at the kitchen island, looking out of place. This is ridiculous. He can't just cut everyone off like this. He's angry about last night, Damon said. Maybe if you apologize. Apologize? Melanie's voice rose, incredulous. For what? Having dinner with my family? He's always working anyway. How are we supposed to know he'd suddenly want to celebrate his birthday? The doorbell rang, interrupting her. Melanie opened it to find Amber on the doorstep, mascara streaked down her face. Mom, I got evicted, she cried, pushing past Melanie into the house. My landlord changed the locks this morning. He said Dad called him personally and told him to terminate my lease immediately. Before Melanie could respond, her phone rang again. It was Noah this time. Mom, what the hell is going on? Noah's voice was panicked. The university just revoked my housing assignment. They said all future payments have been cancelled and I have to vacate my dorm by tomorrow. As Melanie tried to calm her son, another call came in from the country club, informing her their membership had been terminated effective immediately and they needed to remove any personal belongings from their lockers by the end of the day. By noon, Sophia arrived, having taken a taxi from her assisted living community after being informed that her residency was in jeopardy due to non-payment. What has gotten into Ryan? Sophia demanded. I've never seen such childish behavior. The family gathered in the living room, a bewildered war council trying to make sense of Ryan's brutal efficiency. Damon sat awkwardly at the periphery, clearly unsure of his place in this rapidly unfolding family crisis. Has anyone actually been able to reach him? Amber asked, scrolling futilely through her phone. No, Melanie admitted. But I called that assistant of his, Nora. She said he hasn't been in the office and she can't reach him either. This is about last night, isn't it? Noah said, a chilling realization dawning in his eyes. Dad's birthday dinner. The one we all bailed on. A heavy, uncomfortable silence fell over the room. It was just dinner, Melanie said defensively. People miss dinners all the time. He's completely overreacting. But it was his 50th birthday, Mom, Amber said quietly, her eyes drifting to Damon, then quickly away. And we all went to dinner with. Melanie's phone rang again. This time, it was Bennett Woodward's office, requesting that she come in for an urgent meeting regarding financial and legal matters pertaining to your marriage. The jig was up. Across town, Ryan sat in a quiet coffee shop, watching real-time notifications as his instructions were carried out. He felt no pleasure in the disruption he'd caused. Only a cold, unwavering determination to dismantle what had already been irrevocably broken by others' actions. His phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. Asterisk just landed. What's this cryptic message about staying at my place? Everything okay? Asterisk Ryan typed back. Asterisk I'll explain everything tonight. Thank you for being the one person in my life I can count on. Asterisk as he put down his phone, Ryan noticed a woman watching him from a nearby table. It took him a moment to recognize Lynn Mercer, a project manager from one of his biggest commercial clients. Ryan, she approached cautiously. I don't mean to intrude, but are you all right? You look troubled. For the first time in days, Ryan felt seen. Not as a provider or a bank account, but as a human being. Actually, no, he admitted. I'm not all right at all. Would you like some company? She offered. Sometimes it helps to talk to someone completely uninvolved. Ryan hesitated, then gestured to the chair across from him. I'd appreciate that, Lynn. As Ryan gave her the abbreviated version of recent events, he realized he was speaking to someone who truly understood ambition and sacrifice. Unlike his family, Lynn asked questions about how he felt rather than what he would do next. What happens now? She asked when he finished. Ryan's phone buzzed with a message from Bennett. Asterisk Melanie just left. Letters delivered as instructed. All parties notified of terms. Asterisk now, Ryan said, looking at Lynn, a strange calm settling over him. We see who values the relationship, and who only valued the resources. ####Chapter 5, the full accounting. 3 days after cutting off financial support, Ryan finally agreed to a family meeting. He chose neutral territory, a conference room at Bennett's law office, and he stipulated that Damon Walsh was absolutely not to attend. When Ryan arrived, Bennett was waiting outside the room. They're all in there, Bennett said quietly. And they're not happy. I didn't expect them to be, Ryan replied, his voice flat. Inside, Melanie, Amber, Noah, and Sophia sat around a large conference table, their expressions ranging from anger to anxiety, to something close to genuine fear. Ryan took his seat at the head of the table, Bennett beside him. Thank you for coming, Ryan began, his voice businesslike, utterly devoid of emotion. I've asked Mr. Woodward to facilitate this meeting to ensure everything is properly documented. This is ridiculous, Ryan. Melanie interrupted, her voice shrill with indignation. You can't just cut us all off without warning. We have bills, responsibilities. Yes, Ryan agreed, his tone measured, almost chilling. We all have responsibilities. Like the responsibility to honor commitments. To show basic respect to family members. To be honest about how we spend our time, and with whom. He opened a folder and removed several documents. Before we discuss anything else, I want to establish some facts. Fact 1, I have provided financial support for this family for over 20 years, without complaint. Fact 2, I have never missed a payment for anything any of you have needed or wanted. Fact 3, I have never asked for anything in return, except basic consideration. Ryan looked directly at each family member, letting his words sink in. And yet, not one of you could give me even that much on my 50th birthday. Dad, we're sorry about your birthday, Amber said, her voice small, a genuine tremor in it. We should have been there. Yes, you should have, Ryan confirmed, his gaze intense. Instead, you were at the Capitol Grill with your mothers. Ryan paused, choosing his words carefully, letting the silence stretch. Asterisk friend asterisk, Mr. Walsh. Melanie flushed crimson, her face draining of color. Ryan, Damon is just, please don't insult my intelligence, Melanie, Ryan cut her off, his voice still terrifyingly calm. I know exactly what Damon is. I've known for months. Silence, heavy and suffocating, fell over the room as the implication of his words sank in. Why are we here, Ryan? Sophia finally asked, her imperious tone now replaced with a weary defeat. To be punished? To beg? You're here because actions have consequences, Ryan replied simply. And because despite everything, you're still my family. I wanted to explain my decisions to you directly. He distributed copies of a document to each person. This outlines the new financial arrangements moving forward. I am not completely cutting anyone off. I am, however, establishing clear boundaries. The family members quickly scanned the documents, their expressions shifting from a flicker of hope to utter dismay. This is barely anything. Noah protested, looking up from his paper. My tuition and basic housing, but no spending money, no car allowance? You'll receive what you need, not what you want, Ryan clarified. You can get a part-time job for discretionary expenses, like most college students. And what about me? Sophia demanded, her voice regaining a hint of its former sharpness. This says you'll only pay for basic assisted living, not the premium suite I'm in now. That's correct, Ryan nodded. The standard accommodations are perfectly adequate. The extra amenities were a luxury I provided, not an obligation. And me? Melanie asked quietly, scanning her document, her eyes wide with disbelief. This is practically nothing, Ryan. It's exactly what you'd receive in a divorce settlement according to our prenuptial agreement, Ryan explained, his voice chillingly precise. The house maintenance and utilities will be covered until Amber and Noah finish college. After that, the house will be sold, and the proceeds divided according to the prenup. Melanie's face blanched. You're divorcing me. I'm giving you a choice, Ryan corrected her, his eyes fixed on hers. Option 1, divorce, with the terms outlined in that document. Option 2, remain married with separate finances as outlined, while you decide what you really want from life, and from this marriage. He turned to his children. As for you two, I love you. That hasn't changed. But you're adults now, and it's time you understood that relationships require reciprocity. I've dedicated my life to providing for you. I don't think birthday dinner attendance was too much to ask in return. Amber began to cry, silent tears streaming down her face. Noah stared fixedly at the table, unable to meet his father's gaze. This meeting is not a negotiation, Ryan continued, his voice firm. These are the new terms. You can accept them, or you can choose to make your own way entirely. Either way, the old arrangement is over. And if we refuse? Melanie challenged, her voice tight with a desperate, futile anger. Then you'll receive nothing beyond what's legally required, Ryan said simply. And you'll need to vacate the house within 30 days. As the meeting ended, Ryan stood to leave. Amber rushed to him, tears streaming down her face. Dad, please, she begged, grabbing his arm. I'm so sorry about your birthday. We all are. Can't we fix this? Ryan looked at his daughter, really looked at her, and for the first time in days, he saw a flicker of genuine remorse in her eyes. I hope so, Amber, he said softly, his voice a little less harsh. But fixing takes more than words. It takes actions that demonstrate true change. As Ryan walked out, Melanie called after him, This isn't over, Ryan. He turned back briefly, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. You're right about that, Melanie. It's just beginning. Outside, Ryan found Lucas waiting by his car. How'd it go in there? Lucas asked, his face etched with concern. About as expected, Ryan replied. They're angry, confused, entitled. They still don't really understand what they've done. Lucas nodded thoughtfully. And what about you? Are you okay? For the first time since his birthday, Ryan felt something other than cold determination, a flicker of genuine emotion, raw and vulnerable. No, he admitted. But I will be. As they drove away, Ryan's phone buzzed with a message from Lynn. Thinking of you today. Hope the meeting went as well as it could. A small, genuine smile touched Ryan's lips as he typed back, it did. Thank you for caring enough to check. #####. Chapter 6. The revelation. 2 weeks after that explosive family meeting, the situation had evolved in unexpected ways. Melanie had moved into the guest room, barely speaking to Ryan, who had returned to the house, but spent minimal time there. Noah had surprisingly gotten a job at the university library and was calling home less frequently. Sophia had grudgingly adjusted to her new, standard living arrangement. But Amber had surprised everyone. The morning after the meeting, Amber had appeared at Ryan's office without an appointment. Dad, can we talk? She'd asked hesitantly. Just us. Over lunch, Amber had been brutally honest. Mom's been seeing Damon for over a year, she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. She told me and Noah it was nothing serious at first, just a friendship. Then she started including him in family things when you weren't around. Ryan had listened silently as Amber explained how Melanie had gradually normalized Damon's presence, making him seem like part of their extended family circle. The birthday dinner, that was Mom's idea, Amber continued, her eyes welling with fresh tears. She said you probably wouldn't notice anyway since you're always working. I knew it was wrong, Dad, I did, but I went along with it. Why are you telling me this now? Ryan had asked, his voice gentle. Because I don't like who I'm becoming, she choked out, and because I found something you should see. She pulled out her phone and showed Ryan a series of text messages from Melanie to Damon, discussing how they would transition the family after Ryan finally got the message that he wasn't wanted anymore. They've been planning to push you out, Amber explained. Mom said once you left, Damon would help manage all the financial stuff, and everything would be better because he actually wants to be part of the family. That revelation shifted something fundamental in Ryan. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. It was calculating. Now, 2 weeks later, Ryan sat in his office reviewing documents with Bennett and a forensic accountant named Philip Harris. So, you see the pattern, Philip explained, pointing to highlighted transactions. Small amounts, regularly diverted from joint accounts to this numbered account, which we've confirmed belongs to Miss Holloway. Over the past 18 months, she's accumulated nearly $300,000. Ryan nodded, unsurprised after Amber's revelation. And we can prove this was done without my knowledge or consent? Absolutely, Philip confirmed. The transfers were always made when you were traveling for business, using a separate device that accessed your accounts through saved passwords. Bennett leaned forward. Ryan, this changes the divorce equation significantly. This is financial fraud, plain and simple. I don't want to press charges, Ryan said firmly. But I do want leverage. What are you thinking? Bennett asked, a shrewd glint in his eye. I'm thinking it's time for the next phase, Ryan replied, a dangerous glint in his own eyes. I've been reactive so far. Now I need to be proactive. That evening, Ryan invited Lynn to dinner. Over the past 2 weeks, they had developed a friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. Lynn knew about Ryan's situation and had become a valuable sounding board. You seem different tonight, Lynn observed as they shared a bottle of wine. More resolved. I am, Ryan admitted. I've been so focused on what I've lost that I haven't considered what I might gain from all this. Like what? Freedom. Clarity. The chance to rebuild with people who actually value me. Lynn smiled. That sounds healthy. So, what's your next move? Ryan took a sip of wine. I'm going to offer Melanie exactly what she wants, a clean break. But on my terms, not hers. Later that night, Ryan returned home to find Melanie waiting in the living room. From her expression, he knew immediately that something had changed. We need to talk, she said, her tone conciliatory for the first time in weeks. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I want to try to fix our marriage, Ryan. Ryan studied her face, noting the calculated remorse behind her sudden shift. That's interesting timing, Melanie. May I ask what prompted this change of heart? Melanie shifted uncomfortably. I realized how much our family needs you. How much I need you. Interesting, Ryan said calmly. Does your epiphany have anything to do with Damon Walsh's sudden financial problems? Melanie's eyes widened slightly. What are you talking about? Oh, you haven't heard? Ryan asked, feigning surprise. Damon's investment firm is under investigation by the SEC. All his assets have been frozen. It was announced this afternoon. The color drained from Melanie's face. I didn't know. I'm sure you didn't, Ryan agreed, his voice still terrifyingly calm. Just like I'm sure your sudden interest in reconciliation has nothing to do with discovering your backup plan is no longer viable. Ryan, that's not fair. Let me tell you what's not fair, Melanie, Ryan interrupted, his voice still remarkably calm, yet with an edge of steel. Planning to push your husband out of his own family so you can replace him with someone you find more exciting. Stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from joint accounts? Using your children as pawns in your game? Melanie froze, her face pale. What are you talking about? I never stole, please. Ryan cut her off again. The forensic accountant has documented every transfer. Every single one, Melanie. For a long moment, they stared at each other across the living room, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the air. Then Melanie's expression hardened, a flicker of her old defiance returning. What do you want, Ryan? I want what I've always wanted, honesty. So, here's my offer. I won't press charges for the financial fraud if you agree to my divorce terms without contest. You'll get exactly what the prenup stipulates. No more, no less. And if I don't agree? Then I'll see you in court, Ryan replied simply, where we can discuss those transfers in detail. Your choice. As Melanie stormed out of the room, Ryan's phone buzzed with a message from Amber. Asterisk just checking in. You okay, Dad? Asterisk he smiled slightly as he typed back, asterisk getting better every day. Thank you for telling me the truth, asterisk for the first time in months, Ryan felt like he was building something new rather than watching something old crumble away. Hashtag Chapter 7, New Foundations. 1 month after confronting Melanie about the financial fraud, Ryan's life had undergone a dramatic transformation. He had moved permanently into a penthouse apartment in the city, closer to his company headquarters. Melanie had reluctantly signed the divorce papers after her attorney confirmed that fighting Ryan's terms would likely result in worse outcomes for her. The divorce was now in process, proceeding exactly as Ryan had planned. Noah had surprised everyone by transferring to a state school with a better program in his actual field of interest, engineering rather than business. He'd even asked Ryan to help him apply for scholarships rather than simply paying his way. I want to earn it, Dad, he'd explained during one of their weekly dinners. I don't want to be handed everything anymore. Sophia had adjusted to her new living arrangement and had grudgingly acknowledged that the standard accommodations were adequate, though she remained coolly distant toward Ryan. Amber had perhaps changed the most. After revealing Melanie's schemes to Ryan, she had moved out of her university apartment and into a modest studio that she paid for with her new part-time job at an interior design firm. She was finishing her degree while getting real-world experience, and her relationship with Ryan had evolved into something more adult, more equal. The only person not adapting well was Melanie. With the divorce proceeding and Damon Walsh now under investigation and unable to access his assets, she found herself increasingly isolated. Her social circle at the country club had quietly distanced themselves once the details of her behavior began to circulate. Her attempts to reconcile with Ryan, clearly motivated by financial concerns rather than genuine remorse, had been firmly rebuffed. On a crisp November morning, Ryan sat in his office reviewing the latest designs for a major new project when Nora announced an unexpected visitor. Mr. Walsh is here to see you, she said, her disapproval evident in her tone. Shall I send him away? Ryan considered for a moment. No, I'll speak with him. Give me 5 minutes, then show him in. When Damon entered, he looked markedly different from the confident, polished man who had been photographed with Ryan's family at the Capitol Grill. His expensive suit appeared slightly rumpled, his face drawn with stress. Thank you for seeing me, Ryan, Damon began, remaining standing when Ryan didn't offer him a seat. What can I do for you, Damon? Ryan asked, his tone neutral, but not friendly. I wanted to speak with you man-to-man, Damon said, unconsciously echoing his words from their brief phone conversation weeks earlier, about Melanie, about the situation with the SEC. Let me stop you there, Ryan interrupted, holding up a hand. My divorce from Melanie is proceeding as agreed. Your relationship with her is no longer my concern. As for your SEC troubles, I fail to see how that involves me. Damon's expression tightened. I think you know exactly how it involves me. The SEC investigation began one day after your meeting with Melanie at your lawyer's office. That's not a coincidence. Ryan leaned back in his chair, a slight, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. Are you accusing me of something, Damon? I'm saying that someone gave the SEC very specific information about certain transactions my firm handled. Information that only someone with insider knowledge would have. That sounds serious, Ryan commented mildly. Perhaps you should focus on addressing those allegations rather than pursuing a relationship with my soon-to-be ex-wife. Damon stepped closer to Ryan's desk, his voice dropping, almost a growl. I know you did this. You couldn't stand that Melanie chose me, so you're trying to destroy me professionally. Ryan stood slowly, his height advantage making Damon step back involuntarily. First, I didn't do anything except ensure that relevant authorities had accurate information. If you conducted your business ethically, you have nothing to worry about. Second, Melanie didn't choose you. She tried to keep both of us, enjoying my financial support while getting emotional validation from you. He moved around the desk until he was standing directly in front of Damon, his voice dropping to a level of quiet certainty that was far more menacing than any shout. And third, if I wanted to destroy you, Damon, you wouldn't be standing here making accusations. You'd already be finished. The quiet certainty in Ryan's voice made Damon pale slightly. Is that a threat? Damon asked, his voice less confident now. Not at all, Ryan replied. It's simply a fact. Now, was there anything else you needed? Damon hesitated, then turned to leave. At the door, he paused, a bitter look on his face. She really did love you once, you know. Before you became all about the business, all about the money. Ryan's expression didn't change. That may be true, but respect matters more than love in the long run. And she never respected me, just like she'll never respect you. Good luck with the SEC, Damon. I hear they're very thorough. After Damon left, Ryan canceled his remaining meetings and drove to a construction site on the outskirts of town. It was one of his company's newest projects, a community center being built in a neighborhood that was working to revitalize itself after years of neglect. As he walked the site, greeting workers by name and inspecting the progress, Ryan felt a sense of purpose that had been missing for too long. He had built his company the same way he built his buildings, methodically, with attention to detail, and a focus on creating something that would last. He had applied the same principles to dismantling his broken marriage and was now, finally, rebuilding his relationships with his children. His phone buzzed with a message from Lynn. Still on for dinner tonight? I have news about the hospital project, Ryan smiled as he replied, absolutely. Looking forward to it, as he looked around at the half-finished community center, Ryan realized he was no longer angry. The cold determination that had driven him since his birthday had transformed into something more constructive. A clear vision of the future he wanted to build, with people who valued him for who he was, not what he provided. Chapter 8. The unexpected turn. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, Ryan's new life had truly begun to take shape. His relationship with Lynn had evolved from friendship to something deeper, built on mutual respect and genuine connection. His company was thriving, with several major new projects underway. His relationships with Noah and Amber continued to strengthen as they established new, healthier dynamics, based on honesty and effort, not just his financial support. Melanie, meanwhile, had been forced to downsize significantly. The divorce settlement had provided only what the prenup specified, and Damon Walsh's legal troubles were mounting, his assets still frozen. She had sold many of her luxury possessions and moved into a modest condo. She had also, somewhat surprisingly, started taking interior design jobs again, something she hadn't done since before Amber was born. On a snowy December afternoon, Ryan was reviewing year-end financial reports when Nora announced another unexpected visitor. Sophia Cooper is here to see you, she said, a hint of surprise in her voice. She doesn't have an appointment. Ryan raised his eyebrows. He hadn't spoken to his former mother-in-law in months. Send her in, please. Sophia entered tentatively, looking smaller and older than Ryan remembered. She declined his offer of a seat. I won't take much of your time, she began, her voice lacking its usual imperious tone. There are things I need to say to you. Ryan gestured for her to continue. I was wrong about you, Sophia said simply, her gaze steady. I encouraged Melanie, too. I told her she deserved someone more attentive, more present. I encouraged her to explore her options with Damon. I see, Ryan replied neutrally. No, you don't, Sophia shook her head, a sigh escaping her lips. I've watched my daughter destroy her marriage, damage her relationship with her children, and lose the life she had. All because I reinforced her worst instincts. And now I'm seeing the consequences. She finally sat down, seeming to deflate. Melanie is unhappy. Damon is facing criminal charges. And you? She looked at Ryan directly, a flicker of something akin to admiration in her eyes. You're flourishing. You've rebuilt everything, while treating your children with more generosity than most men would have shown after such betrayal. What exactly are you here for, Sophia? Ryan asked, genuinely curious now. To apologize, she said simply. And to ask if there's any way you might consider helping Melanie one more time. Not financially, she added quickly, seeing Ryan's expression harden. She needs to stand on her own now, but she's struggling to get her design business re-established. A recommendation from you to some of your business contacts would mean a great deal. Ryan studied the older woman's face, searching for manipulation, but finding only genuine concern and regret. I'll consider it, he finally said. Not for Melanie's sake, but for Amber and Noah. They shouldn't have to worry about their mother's financial stability while they're building their own lives. Sophia nodded gratefully. That's more than fair. She stood to leave, then hesitated. There's one more thing you should know. Damon's legal troubles, they're worse than what's been reported. He used some of the money Melanie took from your accounts to make investments that are now under scrutiny. Ryan's expression didn't change. I'm aware of that. My forensic accountant tracked every dollar. Of course, he did, Sophia smiled faintly. You always were thorough. After she left, Ryan sat, thinking about Sophia's visit. It represented something he hadn't expected, accountability from someone who had contributed to the destruction of his marriage. The apology didn't change the past, but it did provide a certain closure. That evening, as Ryan and Lynn prepared dinner together in his penthouse apartment, he told her about Sophia's visit. Are you going to help Melanie? Lynn asked, her tone curious rather than judgmental. I'm going to help my children by ensuring their mother can support herself, Ryan clarified. I'll make a few calls, but that's it. Lynn studied his face. You've changed since I first met you in that coffee shop. You're lighter, somehow. Ryan considered this. I've let go of things I didn't realize were weighing me down. Expectations, assumptions about what my life should look like. The need to provide everything for people who appreciated nothing. And how does that feel? Lynn asked, genuinely interested. Like freedom. Ryan admitted. Like I can finally build something real. Later that night, after Lynn had gone home, Ryan received a text from Lucas. Asterisk just heard through the grapevine that Damon Walsh was arrested today. Federal charges related to securities fraud. Thought you should know, asterisk Ryan didn't respond immediately. The news didn't bring the satisfying surge of triumph he might have expected months ago. Instead, it felt like the closing of a chapter, one he was ready to move beyond. His phone buzzed again, this time a message from Amber. Asterisk Dad, have you heard about Damon? Mom's a mess. Noah and I are with her now. We're worried about her state of mind, asterisk this message did require a response. Asterisk I've heard. Is she safe, asterisk yes, but really upset. She keeps saying everything is her fault, asterisk Ryan sighed, then made a decision that surprised even himself. Asterisk tell her I'll make those calls to help with her design business. But that's the extent of my involvement. You and Noah are doing the right thing being there for her, asterisk Amber replied quickly. Asterisk thanks, Dad. That means a lot. Love you, asterisk love you, too, Ryan typed back, realizing with some surprise that it was true. Despite everything, he still loved his children. He wouldn't allow their mother's actions to destroy that connection, though he would never again allow it to be taken for granted. The next morning, Ryan made 3 brief calls to business associates who might be able to use Melanie's interior design services. He was cordial but clear, this was a professional courtesy based on her qualifications, not a personal endorsement. As he finished the last call, Ryan realized something important. His actions were no longer driven by anger or revenge. He was making choices based on what he wanted to build, not what he wanted to destroy. The distinction felt significant, a marker of how far he had come since that lonely birthday dinner. ##### Chapter 9, the final boundary. 6 months after the divorce, Ryan stood in the backyard of his former home, watching as a real estate agent placed a sold sign next to the for sale one. The house had sold for well above asking price, a testament to both the strong market and the property's appeal. As stipulated in the divorce agreement, the proceeds would be divided according to the prenuptial agreement, with Melanie receiving enough to establish herself comfortably, but not extravagantly. Dad! Amber called, emerging from the house with a box labeled family photos. I found these in the attic. I thought you might want them. Ryan accepted the box, a small smile playing at his lips. Thanks, sweetheart. Anything worth keeping in here? I don't know, Amber admitted. I didn't look through them all, but I thought, well, not everything from before was bad, right? Ryan nodded thoughtfully. No, not everything. Noah appeared next, carrying several framed certificates and awards. These are yours, Dad. From the community service projects and industry recognition. Mom said to make sure you got them. The mention of Melanie hung in the air for a moment. Though she wasn't present for the final walkthrough, having elected to have her lawyer handle her portion of the proceedings, her presence was still felt in the house they had shared for so many years. "How is she doing?" Ryan asked, surprising both his children with the question. Amber and Noah exchanged glances. "She's adjusting," Noah offered carefully. "The design business is picking up. Those referrals you made really helped." "She's seeing a therapist," Amber added. "And she stopped blaming everyone else for what happened." "That's progress, I guess." Ryan nodded, but didn't comment further. His children's relationship with their mother was their own to navigate. He would neither interfere nor actively encourage it. As the three of them walked through the empty house one last time, memories surfaced in each room. Christmas mornings in the living room, family dinners in the kitchen, homework sessions at the dining room table. Not all the memories were tainted by what came later. In the master bedroom, Ryan paused, remembering both good times and bad. This was where his marriage had slowly died, where Melanie had pulled away from him long before Damon Walsh ever entered the picture. "You okay, Dad?" Noah asked, noticing his father's distant expression. "Yes," Ryan said simply, a hint of sadness in his voice. "Just remembering." Outside, as they prepared to leave the property for the final time, Ryan's phone rang. It was Bennett. "Good news," his lawyer said without preamble. "The judge approved the final distribution of assets exactly as we requested. Everything is official now." "Thank you, Bennett," Ryan replied. "For everything." After hanging up, Ryan turned to his children. "That's it, then. The house sale will close on Tuesday, and the last financial ties will be severed." "What about us?" Amber asked quietly, her eyes searching his. "The family ties." Ryan placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Those are different. Those are chosen, not legally mandated. You and Noah will always be my children, and I'll always be your father. That hasn't changed." "And Mom?" Noah asked hesitantly. Ryan's expression turned serious, definitive. "Your mother made her choices, and I made mine in response. I don't wish her ill, but there are boundaries now that will never be crossed again. She's no longer my concern, except as your mother." The clear finality in his tone left no room for misinterpretation. Ryan Holloway had rebuilt his life on his own terms. He had shown mercy where he chose to, helping Melanie establish her business, ensuring Sophia's basic needs were met, supporting his children unconditionally. But he had never wavered on the fundamental boundary: those who had betrayed him most deeply would never again be welcomed into his inner circle. Later that evening, at a celebration dinner with Lynn, Lucas, and several close friends, Ryan raised a glass in a toast. "To endings that make new beginnings possible," he said, his eyes meeting Lynn's briefly. "And to building on solid foundations," Lynn added, returning his gaze with equal meaning. As conversations flowed around him, Ryan reflected on the journey of the past year. From that solitary birthday dinner to this moment, surrounded by people who genuinely valued him, he had traversed a landscape of betrayal, anger, calculation, and finally, reconstruction. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Melanie, the first direct communication she had initiated in months. *, the lawyer says the house closing is Tuesday. I want to thank you for the business referrals. I know you didn't have to do that. Ryan read the message twice, considering whether to respond. Finally, he typed, I did it for Amber and Noah, not for you. I wish you well in your new life, Melanie, but we have nothing more to discuss. He sent the message, then silenced his phone and returned it to his pocket. The boundary was clear and would remain so. Unlike the structures he built for his business, some things once broken could never be rebuilt, nor should they be. Everything okay? Lynn asked, noticing his momentary distraction. Ryan smiled, genuinely and without reservation. Yes, he said simply. Everything is exactly as it should be. And it was. Ryan had emerged from betrayal, not just intact, but stronger, clearer about his values and his worth. He had shown his children that boundaries matter, that self-respect is non-negotiable, and that while forgiveness might be possible, forgetting never is. He had built his life once. He had rebuilt it again. And this time, he had built it with people who understood that relationships, like buildings, require solid foundations, regular maintenance, and mutual investment to stand the test of time. The man who had once sat alone on his 50th birthday was gone. In his place stood someone who no longer measured his worth by what he provided to others, but by the quality of the connections he chose to maintain and the integrity with which he lived his life. It wasn't the ending he had once envisioned for himself. It was better.